Chapter 1. Stop reacting. Start observing the puppet strings of reaction. Most people believe they are the masters of their own lives. They believe that when they speak, it is their voice, and when they act, it is their will. But if you look closer, you will see the strings. You see it in the man who loses his temper because someone cut him off in traffic. You see it in the employee who spends all night worrying because of one cryptic email from their boss. You see it in the person who buys something they can't afford just because an advertisement made them feel inadequate. These people aren't in control. They are in reaction mode. Reaction is an automated, biological response. It is the domain of the animal brain, the amygdala, which cares only about immediate survival. When you react, you are letting the external world dictate your internal state. If the world is kind, you are happy. If the world is cruel, you are miserable. You have handed the keys to your kingdom to total strangers. Repeat this to yourself until it is burned into your psyche. Reaction is weakness. Observation is power. The anatomy of a reaction. Why is reaction so dangerous? Because a reaction happens without the benefit of the higher mind. It bypasses the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for logic, long-term planning, and morality. When you react, you are making a decision with only 10% of your brain's capability. You are choosing the path of least resistance. You are choosing the path of the ego. The ego hates to be challenged. It wants to defend itself. It wants to be right. It wants to strike back. But consider the cost. A 5-second reaction, a scream, a sent email, a slammed door, can create 5 years of wreckage. People have lost careers, marriages, and their freedom because they could not master the 5 seconds between a provocation and their response. The power of the observer. Now, contrast this with the observer. The observer is the person who has learned to step outside of themselves. When a stimulus hits them, an insult, a setback, a crisis, they don't immediately push back. Instead, they watch. Imagine you are standing on a river bank. A reaction is jumping into the freezing, turbulent water because you saw something shiny at the bottom. Observation is standing on the shore, watching the water rush past, and noticing the patterns of the current. Real-world example. You are in a meeting, and a colleague takes credit for your work. The reactive person turns red, interrupts, and tries to reclaim their territory with a shaky, angry voice. They look defensive and unprofessional. The observer stays silent for a moment. They watch the colleague. They see the colleague's desperate need for validation. They see the way the rest of the room looks slightly uncomfortable. The observer realizes that by staying calm, they remain the most powerful person in the room. They don't need to fight for their value. Their calm presence proves it. Later, when the time is right, they can address the issue with surgical precision and logic, rather than emotional desperation. The calm person always controls the outcome because they are the only one who can see the whole board. Training the gap. How do you move from being a reactor to an observer? You must train the gap. Between every stimulus and every response, there is a space. In that space lies your power to choose. For the average person, that space is microscopic, almost non-existent. Something happens, and they react instantly. Your goal is to stretch that space until it becomes a wide canyon. Intelligence lives in that pause. When you pause, you allow the emotional chemicals, the cortisol and adrenaline, to drain out of your system. You allow your logical mind to come back online. You go from a cornered animal to a strategic leader. The practical exercise. The 5-second filter. Starting today, you will implement the 5-second filter. Whenever you feel your heart rate rise, whenever you feel that heat in your chest after a message or a comment, you are forbidden from speaking or acting for 5 seconds. During those 5 seconds, you will not think about what you want to say back. You will ask yourself 3 questions. What is actually happening here? Not what I feel is happening, but the objective facts. What does this person's behavior tell me about them? Most insults are confessions of insecurity. What is my ultimate goal? Does reacting help me reach that goal, or does it just feed my ego? By the time you reach 5 seconds, the urge to react will have lost its grip. You are now observing. You are now in control. Observation exposes insecurity. One of the greatest benefits of observation is that it reveals the truth about others. When someone is aggressive or loud, they are trying to project strength. But the observer sees the truth. Aggression is a mask for fear. When you observe someone trying to provoke you, you see their tells. You see their desperate need to control the situation because they cannot control themselves. Once you see their weakness, you can no longer be offended by them. You don't get angry at a toddler for throwing a tantrum. You observe the tantrum and wait for it to pass. When you apply this to your adult life, you become untouchable. You realize that no one can make you angry without your permission. If you remain an observer, you never give that permission. Conclusion of Chapter 1. Reaction is a luxury you cannot afford. It is a drain on your energy and a fog in your vision. Every time you react, you are being played by the world. Every time you observe, you are the one playing the game. Train the gap. Watch the world, but do not let it move you. Remember, the person who reacts is a follower. The person who observes is a leader. Move into your day with this mantra. I am the observer. I do not react. I respond with intent. Chapter 2. Your emotions are lying to you. The great internal deception. Imagine you are walking through a dense forest at night. Suddenly, you hear a loud snap of a twig behind you. Your heart hammers against your ribs, your breath becomes shallow, and your muscles tense. Your brain screams one word: run. In that moment, your emotions are telling you a story. The story is that there is a predator behind you and you are in mortal danger. But when you turn around and shine your flashlight, you see it was just a heavy branch falling under its own weight. The fear was real. The physical response was real. But the truth the emotion told you, that you were about to be eaten, was a lie. This is the fundamental reality of the human experience. Emotions are immediate, loud, and often completely wrong. They are survival tools designed for a world of physical predators, not decision-making tools for a world of complex social and professional landscapes. Repeat this mantra until it becomes your second nature. Feel everything. Act on nothing immediately. The biological ghost. To master your mind, you must understand why your emotions lie to you. We carry within us a biological ghost, the limbic system. This part of your brain is ancient. It evolved millions of years ago to keep your ancestors alive. Its job isn't to make you happy, successful, or wise. Its only job is to keep you from dying. Because the limbic system is biased toward survival, it is naturally pessimistic. It would rather you be wrong and scared than right and dead. Therefore, it overreacts to everything. In the modern world, we rarely face saber-toothed tigers. Instead, we face social predators, a critical boss, a judgmental father-in-law, or a dip in the stock market. Your ancient brain cannot tell the difference between a threat to your physical life and a threat to your ego. It treats a mean tweet and a physical attack with the exact same chemical dump of adrenaline and cortisol. When you feel an intense emotion, you are experiencing a chemical hallucination. Your brain is distorting reality to force you into a survival action. This is why you cannot trust what you feel in the heat of the moment. The 3 faces of the lie. Let's look at how the 3 most common lying emotions operate in your daily life. 1. Fear, the thief of potential. Fear is the most convincing liar of all. Fear doesn't just say be careful, it says don't try. It whispers that if you take that risk, if you start that business or tell that person how you feel, you will be humiliated and cast out. Fear tells you that comfort is safety. But in the modern world, comfort is stagnation. Growth exists only in the territory of discomfort. If you obey the lie of fear, you guarantee that you will never reach your potential. A calm mind feels the fear, acknowledges its evolutionary purpose, and then ignores its advice. 2. Anger, the illusion of justice. Anger lies by telling you that you have been wronged and that burning it all down is the only way to find justice. Anger makes you feel powerful in the moment, but it is a hollow power. It's like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. When you act on anger, you are usually trying to protect a fragile ego. The lie of anger says, if I shout, they will respect me. The truth is that the more you shout, the less respect you command. Calmness is the ultimate expression of strength. Anger is the ultimate expression of a loss of control. 3. Greed and infatuation, the false paradise. Not all lies are negative. High-intensity positive emotions lie. 2. Infatuation tells you that a person is perfect and has no flaws. Greed tells you that a get-rich-quick scheme is a sure thing. These emotions bypass your logic by promising a shortcut to happiness. They make you impulsive. Most financial ruin and most broken hearts come from acting on the high of a positive emotion without waiting for the come down of reality. The philosophy of the filter. If emotions are lies, does that mean we should become robots? Should we suppress our feelings and live in a cold, grey world? Absolutely not. To suppress an emotion is to give it power. If you push a beach ball under the water, it eventually screams back to the surface with more force. The goal of the calm mind is not to stop feeling, it is to stop obeying. Think of your mind as a high-end laboratory. An emotion is a sample that has been brought into the lab. A weak person sees the sample and immediately drinks it. A calm person puts the sample under a microscope. They look at it. They say, "Ah, I see. This is a sample of insecurity masked as anger." Interesting. By observing the emotion rather than becoming it, you create a filter. Calm minds filter emotion. Weak minds obey it. The act on nothing rule. The most powerful tool you can use to combat emotional lies is the act on nothing immediately rule. When an emotion hits, whether it's the urge to quit your job because you're frustrated, or the urge to buy a luxury car because you feel successful, you must implement a mandatory cooling-off period. For minor irritations, wait 10 minutes. For medium-sized conflicts, wait 24 hours. For major life-altering decisions, wait 30 days. During this time, the chemical storm in your brain will subside. The lies will lose their color. When the 24 hours have passed, you may still feel the same way, but your reason will be in the driver's seat. If the decision still looks good once the emotion is gone, then it is a powerful decision. If it looks foolish, you have just saved yourself from a lifetime of regret. Training the separation. How do you separate yourself from your feelings in the moment? You use the power of language. Most people say, "I am angry" or "I am sad." When you say, "I am," you are identifying yourself as the emotion. You and the emotion are one. The calm person changes the language. They say, "I am experiencing a feeling of anger," or "I notice that there is a sensation of anxiety in my chest." This small shift in vocabulary creates a massive shift in psychology. It places the emotion over there while you remain here. You are the sky. The emotions are just clouds passing through. The sky doesn't panic when a storm cloud appears. It knows the storm is a temporary visitor. The cost of emotional obedience. Look around you at the people who are constantly in crisis. They are the ones who obey their emotions. They follow every whim, every fear, and every spark of temper. Their lives are a chaotic mess of burnt bridges and half-finished projects. They are slaves to a biological ghost that hasn't been updated in 50,000 years. You are choosing a different path. You are recognizing that your feelings are data, not instructions. They are suggestions, not commands. By refusing to believe the lies of your emotions, you gain the clarity to see the world as it actually is. Chapter 2 Summary and Reflection. Your emotions are immediate and loud, but they are not your friends in the decision-making process. They are survival alarms that are constantly going off for the wrong reasons. Acknowledge the feeling, but doubt the story it tells. Use the act on nothing rule to let the chemicals drain. Label your emotions to create distance. Remember, a calm mind filters, a weak mind obeys. As you go through your day, watch for the lies. When you feel that sudden spike of fear or anger, smile to yourself. Say, "Nice try, but I'm in control today." Chapter 3. Slow down to win faster. The addiction to speed. We live in an era that worships at the altar of fast. We have high-speed internet, fast food, instant messaging, and high-frequency trading. We are told that if we aren't moving, we're losing. We are pressured to give an answer in the meeting now. We feel the need to reply to the text now. We feel the urge to buy the stock before the price jumps now. This cultural obsession has created a psychological disease, the tyranny of the urgent. When you operate in a state of constant urgency, your brain remains in a survival frequency. In this state, your peripheral vision, both literal and metaphorical, narrows. You stop seeing the big picture. You stop considering the second and third order consequences of your actions. You become a fast thinker, but a poor decider. Repeat this mantra until it changes your pace. Slow is smooth. Smooth is fast. The origin of the mantra. The phrase slow is smooth, smooth is fast comes from the world of elite military operators, specifically the Navy SEALs. When these operators are clearing a room or handling a weapon under intense pressure, the instinct is to move as fast as possible. But they have found that moving fast leads to fumbled movements. A fumbled reload or a missed corner can be fatal. Instead, they train to move with deliberate, smooth motions. By slowing down, they ensure every movement is perfect. Because they don't have to fix mistakes, their slow movement actually ends up being faster than the panic scrambling of an amateur. The same applies to your life. Speed without clarity is just a fast way to reach the wrong destination. The cost of the fix-it tax. Every time you make a rushed decision, you incur what I call the fix-it tax. Think of a time you were in a rush to finish a project and sent it off without a final review. You likely spent the next 3 days fixing the errors that took 3 minutes to make. Think of a time you rushed into a romantic relationship because you were lonely, only to spend the next 2 years untangling yourself from a toxic situation. Think of the business owner who hires the first person who walks through the door because they are desperate for help, only to spend months dealing with the fallout of a bad hire. Rushed decisions in business, relationships, or money often cost years of your life to fix. The time saved by acting quickly is swallowed up 1,000 times over by the time spent repairing the wreckage. The calm thinker delays action just enough to see clearly, and this strategic delay is what creates long-term acceleration. Urgency is a manipulation tool. You must realize that urgency is often a tool used by others to control you. Salesmen create limited time offers to stop you from thinking. Negotiators set hard deadlines to force you into a suboptimal deal. Even your own ego uses urgency to make you feel important. When someone tells you, "I need an answer right now," what they are really saying is, "I don't want you to have the time to realize this is a bad deal for you." The calm person responds to urgency with a smile. They know that almost nothing, short of a medical emergency, requires an instantaneous response. By refusing to be rushed, you signal to the world that you are the one in control. You move at your own pace, and in doing so, you force the world to adapt to you. The clarity gap. Why delaying is winning. There is a profound psychological shift that happens when you decide to wait. I call this the clarity gap. When you first face a problem, your mind is flooded with noise. You see the immediate threat, the immediate ego sting, and the immediate desire for a solution. If you act now, you are acting on noise. But if you wait, even just 1 hour, the noise begins to settle. The dust of the situation falls to the ground. You start to see the hidden variables. You realize that the emergency wasn't actually an emergency, but an opportunity. Or you realize that the opportunity was actually a trap. Long-term winners are not the people who move the fastest. They are the people who make the fewest mistakes. By slowing down, you eliminate the unforced errors that keep most people stuck in a cycle of 1 step forward, 2 steps back. How to practice strategic slowness. How do you actually implement this in a world that demands speed? It requires a set of hard rules for your life. 1. The standard response rule. When asked for a decision on the spot, develop a standard response. That's an interesting point. I'll need to look at my schedule and get back to you by tomorrow morning. It doesn't matter if you already know the answer. By forcing a delay, you train your brain to stay in choice mode rather than reaction mode. 2. The 10% slower movement. This is a physical practice. When you feel stressed or rushed, consciously move your body 10% slower. Walk slower to your next meeting. Speak your sentences 10% slower. Take a breath between thoughts. This biohack signals to your nervous system that you are safe. When your body feels safe, your mind stays calm. When your mind stays calm, your decisions stay powerful. 3. The pre-mortem. Before making a major decision, Take 5 minutes to imagine it is 1 year in the future and the decision has failed. Why did it fail? This slow thinking exercise allows you to see the holes in your plan that fast thinking would have missed. The paradox of results. It seems like a paradox. The person who slows down finishes first. But look at the masters of any craft. Look at a world-class chess player. They don't move their pieces frantically. They sit in silence, sometimes for 20 minutes, looking at one board. Then, they make one move, the right move, that ends the game. Look at a master woodworker. They measure twice and cut once. The amateur measures once, cuts twice, and wastes the wood. Your life is the wood. Your decisions are the cuts. If you want to build a masterpiece, you cannot afford to rush the measurements. Conclusion of Chapter 3. Urgency is an illusion. Speed is a trap. Clarity is the only thing that matters. From this moment on, refuse to be hurried. When the world pushes you to go faster, take it as a signal to slow down. Give yourself the gift of time. Observe the board. Let the noise settle. Remember, the person who rushes is a servant to the clock. The person who is calm is the master of time. Slow is smooth. Smooth is fast. Chapter 4. Detach to see the truth. The lens of attachment. Imagine you are holding a high-powered magnifying glass. If you press that glass directly against your eye, you see nothing but a blur. If you hold it too close to the object you are looking at, the image is distorted and warped. It is only when you find the perfect distance, the sweet spot of space, that the image snaps into crystal clear focus. Judgment works exactly the same way. Attachment is the act of pressing the lens against your eye. When you are too close to a situation, emotionally, financially, or through your ego, you lose the ability to see the truth. You don't see the world as it is. You see the world as you fear it is or as you want it to be. Repeat this mantra until it becomes your perspective. Distance creates clarity. The trap of the ego. The greatest source of attachment is the human ego. The ego is that part of you that wants to be right, wants to be respected, and wants to be the winner. When someone challenges your idea in a meeting, your ego feels attacked. When a partner critiques your behavior, your ego feels threatened. Because you are attached to your image of yourself as smart, capable, or kind, you cannot see the validity in the critique. You immediately go on the defensive. You stop listening. You start formulating a rebuttal. You have become a prisoner of your own identity. Detachment is the process of unlinking yourself from the situation. It is the realization that a critique of your work is not a critique of your soul. A failure in business is not a failure of your character. When you detach, you stop taking the world personally. And when you stop taking the world personally, you finally gain the power to change it. The fog of the sunk cost. Another dangerous form of attachment is the sunk cost fallacy. This is the emotional attachment to the time, money, or effort you have already spent on something. Think of the person who stays in a dead-end relationship for 10 years because they don't want to waste the time they've already put in. Think of the entrepreneur who pours more money into a failing product because they've already spent $1 million on it. These people are blinded by attachment. They are looking backward at what they've lost, rather than forward at the truth of the situation. The truth is, the time and money are gone. They are sunk. The only question that matters is, what is the best move now? The calm mind is able to detach from the past. It views every moment as a fresh start on a clean chessboard. By letting go of what was, you gain the clarity to see what is. Detachment is not apathy. There is a common misconception that detachment means you don't care. People think a detached person is cold, robotic, or indifferent. This is a profound misunderstanding. Apathy is I don't care about the outcome. Detachment is I care about the outcome, but I will not allow my emotions to blind me from the path to get there. In fact, detachment is the highest form of caring. If a surgeon is operating on their own child, they are often too attached to be effective. Their hands might shake. Their judgment might be clouded by fear. This is why surgeons don't operate on their families. They need the distance of a professional relationship to perform at their best. To be truly effective in your life, to be a powerful parent, a great leader, or a savvy investor, you must learn to love the goal while remaining detached from the drama of the process. The strategic advantage of the third person. In any conflict, whether it's a legal battle, a corporate negotiation, or a family argument, the person who is less emotional always wins. Why? Because the emotional person is locked in. They are reacting to every jab, every insult, and every setback. They are predictable. The detached person is unpredictable because they are objective. They are watching the third-person perspective. The strategy, the fly-on-the-wall technique. When you find yourself in a high-stakes or high-emotion situation, perform a mental jump. Imagine you are a fly on the wall or a security camera in the corner of the room. Look at the people in the room, including yourself. Watch him, you, getting angry. Watch her, the other person, getting defensive. From this distance, the argument looks small. It looks like a pattern. You can see the move the other person is making before they make it. You can see the trap your own ego is trying to set for you. By stepping back, you reveal the truth. You see both sides of the board. You see the motivations, the fears, and the hidden agendas. Detachment is not weakness, it is strategic control over your perspective. Letting go of the should. The truth is often painful, which is why we use attachment to hide from it. We attach to how things should be. My children should be more respectful. The market should be going up. He should have called me back. The word should is the ultimate sign of attachment to an imaginary reality. Every time you use the word should, you are arguing with reality. And when you argue with reality, you lose, 100% of the time. The calm mind accepts reality exactly as it is, without judgment. If the car won't start, the detached mind doesn't scream, it shouldn't be broken. It simply observes, the car is not starting. What is the next logical step? By eliminating should from your vocabulary, you remove the emotional friction from your life. You stop wasting energy on resentment and start using that energy for problem solving. The power of being able to walk away. The ultimate expression of detachment is the walk-away power. In any negotiation or relationship, the person with the most power is the one who is most prepared to walk away. If you are desperate for a deal, you are attached to it. The other person can sense that desperation, and they will use it to squeeze you. If you are desperate for someone's approval, they own you. When you are detached, you are willing to lose. You are willing to walk away from a bad deal, a bad job, or a bad person. This willingness to lose is exactly what makes you untouchable. It gives you a calm, quiet authority that cannot be faked. Practice. The evening review. To build the muscle of detachment, you must practice it daily. Every evening, sit for 5 minutes and review your day as if you were watching a movie of someone else's life. Review your mistakes. Review the times you lost your temper. Review the times you felt pride. Don't judge the person in the movie. Just observe them. I see that at 2 p.m. he got defensive because he felt his intelligence was being questioned. Interesting. He could have handled that with more grace. This practice trains your brain to separate the observer from the actor. Over time, this separation will become your default state. You will be able to stay in the observer seat even while you are acting in the world. Conclusion of Chapter 4. Attachment is a blindfold. It keeps you locked in the smallness of your own ego and the fog of your own emotions. Detachment is the act of taking that blindfold off. It is the courage to see the truth, even when the truth is uncomfortable. It is the wisdom to know that you are not your emotions, you are not your past, and you are not your stuff. Remember, the more emotional you are, the less objective you become. Distance creates clarity. Clarity creates power. Step back. Breathe. See the truth. Chapter 5. Silence is a competitive advantage. The vulnerability of noise. We live in an age of noise. We are surrounded by people who feel an obsessive, almost neurotic need to fill every empty second with sound. In meetings, people speak just to prove they are in the room. In social settings, people chatter to mask their anxiety. On social media, people broadcast their every thought to validate their existence. But there is a hidden cost to this constant stream of words. Every time you speak, you are revealing yourself. You are showing your hand. You are broadcasting your insecurities, your biases, and your level of knowledge. The person who speaks the most is usually the one with the most to prove. They are leaking information, energy, and authority. Conversely, the calm mind understands that silence is not just the absence of noise, it is a strategic tool. It is a vacuum that draws information out of others. Repeat this mantra until it becomes your secret weapon. Silence collects data. The psychology of the void. To understand why silence is so powerful, you must understand the psychology of the human brain in a social setting. Most people are deeply uncomfortable with silence. When a conversation stops, the social pressure begins to mount. Most people feel a desperate, physical urge to break the silence. Because they are uncomfortable, they start to talk. And because they are talking out of discomfort rather than intent, they start to say things they shouldn't. They reveal their bottom line in a negotiation. They admit to mistakes they weren't even accused of. They gossip. They show their fear. The calm person is comfortable in the void. They can sit in a 3-second, 5-second, or even 10-second silence without blinking. By remaining still while the other person is fidgeting, you shift the power dynamic. You are the one who is solid. They are the one who is reacting. Silence allows you to sit back and watch the other person's masks fall off. Silence as a filter for truth. When you are talking, you are only repeating what you already know. When you are silent, you have the opportunity to learn something new. Most people listen only so they can find a gap to jump in with their own opinion. They aren't actually hearing the other person. They are just waiting for their turn to perform. The calm mind practices aggressive listening. Aggressive listening means using your silence to observe patterns. You aren't just listening to the words. You are listening to the tone, the hesitations, and what is not being said. Why did they stumble over that specific sentence? Why did they look away when I mentioned the deadline? Why are they trying so hard to convince me of their honesty? When you stay silent, you become a human lie detector. You see the gaps between their words and their body language. Silence gives you the processing power to analyze the subtext of reality. While everyone else is focused on the what, you are uncovering the why. The negotiator's edge. In the world of high-stakes business and negotiation, silence is worth more than gold. Imagine you are negotiating a salary or a contract. The other party makes an offer that is lower than you wanted. The reactive person immediately starts to argue. They justify why they deserve more. They get defensive. They show their cards. The calm person hears the offer and does nothing. They simply look at the other person and remain silent. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. The pressure of that silence is immense. The other party begins to think, oh no, they're offended. My offer was too low. I'm going to lose the deal. Very often, before you even say a word, the other person will start to negotiate against themselves. They will say, well, we might be able to find another 5% in the budget. Or, of course, we are flexible on the start date. By saying nothing, you have won. You didn't have to argue. You didn't have to plead. You simply allowed the other person's own discomfort to do the work for you. Silence builds presence and authority. Have you ever noticed that the most powerful person in a room is often the one who speaks the least? There is a direct correlation between the frequency of a person's speech and their perceived status. People who babble are perceived as low status and anxious. Their words have a low market value because there are so many of them. People who speak rarely, but with absolute clarity, have high-value words. When they finally do open their mouths, the entire room goes quiet to listen. They have built gravity. Silence creates an air of mystery and self-assurance. It signals that you don't need the external validation of others' agreement. You know what you know, and you are comfortable with what you don't know. This quiet authority is magnetic. It draws people to you. It makes people want to seek your approval rather than you seeking theirs. The discipline of the internal mute. Mastering silence isn't just about what you do with your mouth, it's about what you do with your mind. Most people have an internal chatter that is just as loud and distracting as a noisy room. To be truly silent, you must learn to mute the internal monologue of judgment. When someone is speaking to you, your mind is likely saying, "That's a lie. That's stupid. I have a better story than that. I wonder what I'm having for lunch." This internal noise prevents you from seeing the patterns. The discipline of the calm mind is to silence the self so that the truth can be heard. This is the highest form of respect you can show another person, and it is the highest form of data collection you can perform. Practical exercises. Mastering the silence. How do you build this competitive advantage? You must treat silence as a muscle. 1. The 3-second rule. In every conversation today, wait 3 full seconds after the other person finishes speaking before you respond. Use that time to breathe and observe their face. You will be amazed at how much extra information they give you during those 3 seconds of dead air. 2. The ask, don't tell strategy. In your next meeting or social gathering, make it a goal to ask 5 times more questions than you make statements. Instead of saying, "I think we should do X," ask, "What do you think are the risks of doing Y?" This forces others to talk and reveal their data while you remain in the collector seat. 3. The social fast. Practice being in a public place, a coffee shop or a park, without your phone and without talking. Just sit. Observe the people. Observe the movements. Learn to be comfortable with your own presence without the need to input or output noise. The warning: use silence, don't hide in it. There is a difference between strategic silence and fearful silence. Fearful silence is when you have something to say but are too afraid to say it. Strategic silence is when you have the power to speak, but choose not to because listening is more advantageous. The calm mind is not a timid mind. When it is time to speak, the calm mind speaks with the force of a hammer hitting a nail. Because you have been silent, you know exactly where to hit. Your words are backed by the data you have collected. They are precise, they are undeniable, and they are powerful. Conclusion of Chapter 5. The world is loud, and most people are drowning in their own noise. By mastering silence, you step out of the frantic current and onto the dry land of observation. You see the patterns others miss. You hear the truths others hide. You build a presence that commands respect without needing to shout. Remember, the one who speaks is a performer. The one who is silent is the director. Silence collects data. Data creates power. Power creates the outcome. Master the pause. Own the void. Let the world reveal itself to you. Chapter 6. Control your inner dialogue. The room of 1,000 voices. If you were to take a microphone and broadcast every thought that crossed your mind in a single hour, you would likely be horrified. You would hear a chaotic, contradictory, and often cruel stream of consciousness. You would hear, "I'm not ready for this," followed by, "Why did I say that stupid thing 3 years ago?" Followed by, "Everyone is judging me, and I'll probably fail anyway." This is the inner dialogue. It is the constant narrator of your life. For most people, this narrator is not a friend, it is a heckler. It is a pessimistic, reactive, and irrational voice that acts like a toxic roommate living in the penthouse of your skull, rent-free. The tragedy of the human condition is that most people believe this voice is them. They mistake their thoughts for their identity. But here is the hard truth you must accept to become powerful. Your mind is a tool, and right now, the tool is using you. Repeat this mantra until it becomes your law. If you don't control your mind, it controls you. The evolution of the critic. Why is the inner voice so naturally negative? Why does it fixate on the one mistake you made rather than the 10 successes you achieved? The answer, once again, lies in survival. In the ancestral environment, the person who was too positive, the person who thought that rustling in the bushes is probably just a beautiful bird, didn't live long enough to pass on their genes. The person who survived was the one who thought, "That's a tiger, I'm going to die, I'm not fast enough, I need to hide." Your inner critic is an evolutionary relic designed to keep you small and safe. It uses shame, doubt, and fear as cattle prods to keep you from wandering too far from the tribe or taking risks that might lead to failure. In the modern world, however, safe is the most dangerous place to be. If you listen to the voice of survival while trying to build a life of significance, you will be paralyzed. You will kill your opportunities before they even begin. You will talk yourself out of greatness because your mind is still scanned for tigers that no longer exist. The self-sabotage mechanism. Self-doubt is the ultimate preemptive strike. Imagine you are about to walk into a high-stakes negotiation. You have the data. You have the skills. But as you reach for the door handle, your inner dialogue starts. Who are you kidding? These people are more experienced than you. They're going to see right through you. You're going to stutter. You're going to lose the deal. What happens next? Your body responds to that dialogue. Your cortisol levels spike. Your posture slumps. Your voice loses its resonance. You walk into that room already defeated. You didn't lose because of the market or the competition. You lost because you allowed a hallucination in your head to dictate your reality. The calm mind understands that thoughts are not facts. They are merely suggestions from the lizard brain. A powerful person hears the doubt, recognizes its evolutionary origin, and says, "Thank you for your input, but I am in command here." From chaos to commands. Most people ask their minds for permission to be confident. They wait to feel brave before they act. They wait for the inner voice to say, "You've got this," before they start. This is backward. You do not wait for the mind to lead you. You command the mind to follow you. The secret to a calm and powerful mind is replacing emotional chaos with direct commands. You must stop being the audience to your thoughts and start being the interrogator. When the mind says, "I'm overwhelmed," the commander steps in and says, "Focus on the next 5 minutes. Execute the first task. Move." When the mind says, "What if they say no?" the commander says, "Then we pivot." The outcome does not change our value. Next question. By speaking to yourself with authority, you bypass the emotional circuitry of the brain. You move the conversation from the amygdala, the seat of fear, to the prefrontal cortex, the seat of action. You stop asking why, and start asking how. The language of the sovereign. The words you use within your own head determine the chemical environment of your body. To control your dialogue, you must prune your internal vocabulary. 1. Eliminate the shoulds and musts. I should be further ahead. I must not fail. These words create pressure-based thinking. They are heavy and judgmental. Replace them with choose. I choose to work hard because I value my goals. I choose to accept this challenge. Choose is a power word. It places you in the driver's seat. 2. Swap problem for challenge or data. A problem is a weight. A challenge is a game. If you tell yourself, "We have a massive problem," your brain goes into red alert. If you say, "We have a complex challenge to solve," your brain goes into problem-solving mode. 3. Move from the first person to the third person. Research in psychology has shown that people who talk to themselves in the third person, using their own name, are significantly better at regulating their emotions under stress. Instead of thinking, "I'm so nervous," think, "John is feeling nervous right now. John needs to take 3 deep breaths and focus on the opening line." This creates an immediate psychological distance. It turns you into the coach of yourself, rather than the victim of your feelings. The Board of Directors technique. One of the most effective ways to master your inner dialogue is to visualize your mind as a boardroom. In this room, you have different voices. You have the cynic, the one who sees risks, the child, the one who wants to play and avoid work, the victim, the one who wants to complain, and the commander, the one who makes decisions. Most people let the victim or the cynic sit at the head of the table. They let the loudest, most fearful voice run the meeting. The calm person realizes that they are the chairman of the board. You allow the cynic to speak because sometimes there are real risks. You allow the victim to speak because sometimes you need to acknowledge pain. But you never, ever let them vote. You listen to the data, and then the commander, the higher self, makes the final call. When you hear a negative thought, don't try to fight it. Just say, "The cynic is speaking now. He's worried about failure." Noted. Now, what does the commander say? Silence the loop. A major part of inner chaos is rumination, the endless looping of a past mistake or a future worry. It's like a record player stuck in a scratch. To break the loop, you need a pattern interrupt. This is a physical or mental jolt that forces the mind out of its groove. Physical: snap a rubber band on your wrist, or splash cold water on your face. Mental: use a stop command. Literally say the word stop out loud or in your head with the force of a drill sergeant. Then immediately shift your focus to a physical sensation, the feeling of your feet on the floor or the sound of the wind. You cannot think two things at once. By forcing your mind into the now, you starve the internal loop of the energy it needs to continue. The foundation of true power. You can read every book on strategy, you can have all the money in the world, and you can have the best team behind you. But if your internal dialogue is telling you that you're a fraud, you will eventually crumble. External power is a facade if internal power is missing. The foundation of being untouchable is knowing that no matter what the world says about you, the voice in your head is on your side. You must become your own most trusted advisor. You must build an internal dialogue that is disciplined, objective, and relentlessly focused on the solution. This is not positive thinking. It is strategic thinking. It is the refusal to allow your own mind to be used as a weapon against you. Conclusion of Chapter 6. Your mind is a broadcast tower. It is constantly sending out signals of fear or signals of power. Most of the static you hear is just old evolutionary junk. Identify the voice as separate from yourself. Recognize that negativity is a survival mechanism, not a truth. Replace emotional descriptions with objective commands. Speak to yourself like a commander speaks to a soldier, with authority, clarity, and intent. Remember, the world will tell you who you are, but only if you haven't told yourself first. Control the dialogue. Control the mind. Control the life. Chapter 7. Calm people don't chase, they choose. The sense of desperation and power. In the animal kingdom, there is a distinct energetic difference between the predator and the prey. The prey is defined by its frantic movement. It is always looking over its shoulder. It is reactive, twitchy, and driven by the fear of loss, the loss of its life. The predator, however, is characterized by its stillness. It does not rush. It observes, it calculates, and it waits for the right moment. The predator does not chase in a state of panic. It pursues with intent. Human social and professional dynamics operate on a remarkably similar frequency. Most people spend their lives in a state of chasing. They chase the next promotion, they chase the approval of their peers, they chase romantic interests who are pulling away, and they chase trends in the market. To chase is to announce to the world that you are behind. It is a confession that you lack something essential and that your target has the power to give it to you. Chasing is the ultimate expression of a lack of control. It is noisy, it is exhausting, and most importantly, it is ineffective. The calm mind operates from a different premise. A calm person does not chase, they evaluate, and then they choose. They understand that their value is inherent and that they are the prize in any interaction. Repeat this mantra until it changes your posture. I don't chase, I decide. The psychology of the high-value mind. Why does chasing fail so consistently? It fails because of a psychological phenomenon known as reactance. When you chase someone or something too hard, the target instinctively feels a loss of freedom. They feel pressured. Their natural response is to pull away to regain their autonomy. In sales, this is why the desperate salesman never closes the deal. In dating, this is why the overly eager person is often ghosted. In leadership, this is why the boss who tries too hard to be liked is never respected. Desperation is a scent. You cannot hide it with words or expensive clothes. It leaks through your micro-expressions, your tone of voice, and the speed at which you reply to messages. When you are chasing, you are signaling that you need the yes more than the other person does. You have handed them all the leverage. The calm mind, however, projects a sense of abundance. A person who is calm and still signals that they have other options. They aren't in a rush because they aren't afraid of losing. This detached presence is magnetic. It creates a vacuum that draws things toward you. When you stop chasing, people and opportunities begin to wonder why you aren't running after them, and they start walking toward you to find out. Chasing blinds your judgment. The greatest danger of chasing is not that you might fail to catch what you're after, it's that you might actually catch it. When you are in chase mode, Your brain is flooded with dopamine and adrenaline. You are hyper-focused on the get. Because you are so focused on winning the prize, you stop evaluating whether the prize is actually worth having. Think of the person chasing a high-paying job at a prestigious firm. They spend months networking, agonizing over every email, and performing for the interviewers. Because they are chasing, they ignore the red flags, the miserable expressions on the employees' faces, the toxic ego of the CEO, the 80-hour work weeks. They win the job, only to realize 6 months later that they have chased their way into a prison. The calm mind stays in choice mode. Even while being interviewed, the calm person is interviewing the company. They are asking themselves, does this align with my peace of mind? Does this respect my standards? By refusing to chase, you maintain your judgment seat. You see the flaws that the desperate person misses. The power of the standard. To stop chasing, you must have a standard. Most people have wishes, but few have standards. A wish is, I hope this person likes me. A standard is, I only spend time with people who respect me. A wish is, I hope this client pays me. A standard is, I only work with clients who value my time and pay my rate. When you have a standard, you don't need to chase. You simply hold your ground and observe who meets the criteria. If an opportunity or a person doesn't meet the standard, you don't run after them to try and change them or convince them. You simply let them pass by. This is the essence of strategic patience. You are like a filter. You stay still and you let the world flow through you. The trash flows away, and the gold gets caught in your filter. The person who is chasing is like a man trying to catch water with his bare hands. He is moving a lot, but he ends up with nothing. The person with standards is the one who builds a dam, removing desperation from your decision-making. How do you practically move from chasing to choosing? It starts with your internal state. You must eliminate the need and replace it with preference. 1. The post-choice mindset. Before you enter any negotiation, meeting, or social event, tell yourself, I have already won. My life is already complete. If you go into a meeting feeling like you need the deal to survive, you will chase. If you go in feeling like the deal would be a nice addition to an already successful life, you will choose. This is the abundance mindset. It is the refusal to believe in scarcity. 2. The 24-hour buffer. Never say yes to a major opportunity on the spot. Chasing people say yes immediately because they are afraid the offer will be withdrawn. Choosing people say, thank you, I'll take 24 hours to see if this fits my current priorities. This simple delay signals to the other party that you have a life, you have a plan, and you are the one making the final decision. 3. Walking away as a first option. You must be willing to lose. In fact, you should be looking for reasons to walk away. When you look for reasons to say no, you become an elite evaluator. The person who is dying to say yes is a victim. The person who is willing to say no is a master. The relationship dynamic. Chasing versus choosing. In relationships, whether romantic, platonic, or professional, chasing is a form of self-betrayal. When you chase someone's affection, you are essentially telling them that your own company isn't enough to make you happy. You are handing them the keys to your self-esteem. Calm people don't convince people to stay. They don't plead for attention. They understand that a high-value person is a gift. If someone doesn't realize that, the calm person doesn't chase them down the street to explain it. They simply turn their attention back to their own mission. There is nothing more powerful than a person who can walk away from a toxic or unrequited situation without an argument, without a scene, and without looking back. That lack of chase is what haunts the other person. It shows that you are untouchable. The paradox of attraction. The great irony of life is that the things you chase run away, and the things you choose and allow tend to find you. When you focus on your own calm, your own standards, and your own growth, you become a sun. The sun doesn't chase the planets to keep them in orbit. The sun just stays hot and stays centered. The planets stay in orbit because of the sun's mass and gravity. If you want to attract high-level opportunities, high-level people, and high-level wealth, you must stop being a planet that orbits everyone else's needs. You must become the sun. You must build so much internal value and so much mental stillness that the world has no choice but to revolve around you. Conclusion of Chapter 7. Chasing is the behavior of the insecure. It is a waste of energy and a destruction of your status. Stop running. Stand still and evaluate. Define your standards. If it doesn't meet the standard, let it go. Replace need with preference. Nothing is essential to your happiness other than your own self-control. Master the walk-away. If you can't walk away, you aren't choosing, you're being taken hostage. From this day forward, you are the one who decides. You are the one who evaluates. You are the one who chooses. You are the prize. Remember, calmness removes desperation. Desperation removes power. I don't chase. I decide. Chapter 8. Pressure reveals your training. The myth of rising to the occasion. There is a dangerous lie told in movies and motivational speeches. It is the idea that when a great crisis arrives, when the stakes are at their highest and the pressure is soul-crushing, you will suddenly discover a hidden reservoir of strength. The myth suggests that you will rise to the occasion, finding a brilliance and a bravery you never knew you had. This is a fantasy. In the real world, the opposite happens. When the pressure hits, you don't rise to the level of your expectations. You fall to the level of your training. This insight comes from the ancient Greek poet Archilochus, and it remains the foundational truth for Navy SEALs, elite surgeons, and world-class athletes. Pressure does not create character, it reveals it. Pressure does not grant you new skills. It strips away everything except what you have mastered so deeply that it has become automatic. If you have not trained your mind to be calm during a minor disagreement, you will be a hysterical wreck during a major lawsuit. If you haven't practiced clarity during a small financial setback, you will be paralyzed when a market crash wipes out your savings. Repeat this mantra until it becomes your philosophy of preparation. Train calm before the chaos. The biology of the pressure collapse. To understand why we fall to our training, we must look at what happens to the human brain under extreme stress. When the pressure alarm goes off, your body initiates a massive chemical dump. Adrenaline and cortisol flood your system. Your heart rate skyrockets, your breathing becomes shallow, and your pupils dilate. Most importantly, something happens called cortical inhibition. Because your brain thinks you are in a life or death fight, it shunts blood flow away from the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for complex logic, long-term planning, and nuanced decision-making, and sends it to the primitive hindbrain and your large muscles. Essentially, pressure makes you physically stronger but intellectually dimmer. You are being prepared to run or hit, not to negotiate a merger or resolve a complex family dispute. This is why people do stupid things under pressure. They say words they regret. They make impulsive trades. They freeze. Their logical brain has literally been turned off. The only things that remain online are your habits, the things you have done so many times that they require zero conscious thought. This is why training is the only thing that saves you. The automatic script. When you are under pressure and your logical mind is offline, your brain frantically looks for a script to follow. If your daily script is one of reaction, if you spend your normal days complaining about traffic, getting angry at slow internet, and worrying about small things, then that is the script your brain will grab during a crisis. You will react, complain, and worry, but at 10 times the intensity. However, if you have spent your quiet days training the gap between stimulus and response, if you have practiced the 5-second filter and the art of observation, that becomes your automatic script. Under pressure, you won't need to think about being calm. You will be calm because you have practiced it so many times that the lizard brain recognizes it as your default survival strategy. The calm person is not someone who finds peace in a storm. They are someone who built peace when the sun was shining, and they simply brought that peace with them into the storm. Case studies in calm, the elite. Think of an elite surgeon in an operating room. Suddenly, an artery nicks and blood begins to obscure the field. The monitor starts beeping. The stakes are human life. Does the surgeon panic? Does he try hard to be brave? No. He falls to his training. He has practiced this specific emergency hundreds of times in simulations. His hands move with smooth fast precision. He doesn't have to decide what to do. His body already knows. His mind remains a calm observer of his hands. Think of a world-class quarterback in the final 2 minutes of the Super Bowl. 60,000 people are screaming, and 300-pound men are trying to tackle him. To the amateur, this looks like chaos. To the trained professional, it looks like a slow-motion movie. Because he has trained under simulated pressure every day for 20 years, the noise of the crowd is filtered out. He is not rising, he is simply executing what he did on the practice field on Tuesday. How to train for the storm. If you want to be the person who makes powerful decisions under pressure, you cannot wait for the pressure to arrive to start your practice. You must build your calmness muscle daily. You must create microdoses of pressure. 1. Voluntary discomfort. One of the best ways to train calm is through voluntary physical stress. Take a freezing cold shower. Your body's immediate reaction is to gasp, panic, and jump out. That is your lizard brain taking control. Your job is to stand under the water and force your breath to stay slow and deep. You are training your executive mind to stay in charge while your animal mind is screaming. This is a direct simulation of a high-pressure business meeting or a crisis. 2. Mental rehearsal, visualization. The brain struggles to tell the difference between a vivid imagination and reality. Spend 5 minutes every morning imagining a high-pressure situation you might face today. See yourself being insulted. See yourself losing a deal. But don't just see the event. See your response. Visualize yourself taking that deep breath. See yourself staying silent. See yourself choosing the powerful response. When the event actually happens, your brain will think, "Oh, I've been here before. I know the script." 3. The inconvenience gym. Stop viewing daily annoyances as problems. View them as training equipment. When you are stuck in a long line at the grocery store or a flight is delayed, do not complain. This is a gift. This is a low-stakes environment to practice your calm. If you can't maintain your center while waiting for a latte, you have no chance of maintaining it when your business is on the line. The power of box breathing. In the heat of the moment, the fastest way to bring your logical brain back online is through the breath. This is a technique used by special forces to prevent the amygdala hijack. It's called box breathing. Inhale for 4 seconds. Hold for 4 seconds. Exhale for 4 seconds. Hold for 4 seconds. When you do this, you are manually overriding your autonomic nervous system. You are sending a physical signal to your brain that says, "There is no tiger. We are safe." This forces the blood back into your prefrontal cortex. It gives you back your intelligence. The person who controls their breath controls their brain. The person who controls their brain controls the situation. Pressure is a privilege. Most people spend their lives avoiding pressure. They want a safe life with no conflict and no high stakes. But a life without pressure is a life without growth. The calm mind views pressure as a privilege. It is an opportunity to test the training. It is the moment where the gap between you and the average person becomes visible to the world. Anyone can be calm on a calm sea. It is the storm that proves the quality of the captain and the strength of the ship. When the pressure arrives, when the client is yelling, when the money is tight, or when the relationship is at a breaking point, do not pray for the pressure to go away. Say to yourself, "The training is beginning." Trust the work you have done in the quiet hours. Step into the observer role. Breathe. Execute the script. Conclusion of Chapter 8. You are not a hero of the moment. You are a product of your habits. Stop believing you will rise to the occasion. You will only do what you have practiced. Use daily micro-adversity to build your calmness muscle. Practice box breathing to keep your logical brain online during stress. Build your script of calm during the quiet times so it is there for you in the chaos. Remember, the level of your control in a crisis is exactly equal to the level of your discipline in the mundane. Train calm before chaos. The world belongs to the one who can think clearly while everyone else is panicking. Chapter 9. Clarity eliminates regret. The ghost of the emotional self. Regret is one of the heaviest burdens a human being can carry. It is a unique kind of mental torture, the persistent, aching realization that a past version of you made a choice that the current version of you has to pay for. We often speak of regret as if it's an unavoidable part of life, like aging or the weather. But if you look closely at the things you regret most, a pattern emerges. Regret is almost never the result of a logical, well-reasoned, calm decision that simply didn't work out. We can handle bad luck. We can handle a calculated risk that failed. What we cannot handle, what keeps us awake at 3 a.m., is the emotional impulse. Most regret is the ghost of a temporary emotional state. It is the wreckage left behind by a version of you that was angry, terrified, desperate, or infatuated for just 5 minutes. That 5-minute version of you took the steering wheel, drove the car off a cliff, and then disappeared, leaving the real you to spend years trying to climb back up. The calm mind understands that clarity is the only antidote to this ghost. Clarity is the ability to see the ripple effect before the stone hits the water. Repeat this mantra until it becomes your shield. Clarity now prevents pain later. The anatomy of the impulsive choice. To eliminate regret, you must understand the fog of impulse. When you are in a state of high emotion, your brain undergoes a process of temporal myopia, short-sightedness. The emotional brain does not care about next year. It does not care about next month. It barely cares about tomorrow. It only cares about relief or gratification right now. Anger wants the relief of shouting. Lust wants the gratification of the moment. Fear wants the safety of quitting. In these moments, the future self is treated like a total stranger. You sacrifice your future self's reputation, bank account, and peace of mind to satisfy a 5-minute chemical spike in your brain. Clarity is the act of bringing that future self into the room. It is the realization that the person who will have to deal with the consequences of this decision is you. There is no separation. When you act without clarity, you are essentially committing an act of violence against your future self. The 10th of October, 10 rule, the architect of clarity. One of the most effective tools for creating instant clarity is a mental framework known as the 10th of October, 10 rule. Whenever you are faced with a decision that feels hot, one driven by a strong desire or a sharp emotion, you must stop and ask yourself 3 questions. How will I feel about this decision in 10 minutes? How will I feel about this decision in 10 months? How will I feel about this decision in 10 years? Let's apply this to a common source of regret, an angry email to a colleague who insulted you. In 10 minutes, you will feel a surge of triumph. Your ego will be high. You told them off. In 10 months, you will likely be dealing with a fractured professional relationship, a reputation for being difficult, or perhaps you missed out on a promotion because you couldn't be trusted to handle conflict. In 10 years, you might not even remember the insult, but you might still be feeling the career stall that started with that one unprofessional moment. When you look at a decision through the lens of 10 months or 10 years, the temporary high of the emotion loses its power. Clarity makes the cost visible. And once the cost is visible, the impulsive choice becomes ugly. The calm mind doesn't have to fight the urge to be impulsive. It simply sees the impulse for the bad deal that it is. Permanent principles versus temporary feelings. The root of regret is often a misalignment between our actions and our values. We all have values, integrity, kindness, discipline, health. But emotions are values blind. Anger doesn't care about your value of kindness. Fear doesn't care about your value of discipline. If you make decisions based on how you feel, you will spend your life violating your own principles. This creates moral regret, the feeling that you are not the person you claim to be. The calm mind uses its stillness to check the compass. Before acting, it asks, is this action a reflection of my permanent principles, or is it a reflection of my temporary feelings? If you value health, but you feel like eating a box of donuts because you're stressed, clarity reminds you that the feeling will be gone in 20 minutes, but the violation of the principle will weigh on you for days. If you act on the principle, you gain self-respect. If you act on the feeling, you gain regret. Calmness allows you to bridge the gap between who you are and how you act. The ripple effect and strategic restraint. Every decision you make is a stone thrown into a pond. The splash is the immediate result, but the ripples extend far beyond what you can see. A calm mind practices strategic restraint. It understands that sometimes the most powerful decision is to do nothing. The unsaid word in an argument prevents a week of cold silence in a marriage. The unbought luxury item prevents a year of debt-induced stress. The UN-quitted job during a bad week prevents a decade of career instability. Regret is usually the result of doing when we should have been waiting. Clarity tells you that the current version of the problem is almost never as bad as the future version created by a panic solution. By doing nothing until you are calm, you ensure that the ripples you create in your life are intentional, not accidental. Forgiving the past, protecting the future. What if you already have a backpack full of regrets? Many people stay stuck in a cycle of reactive regret. They are so busy beating themselves up for past mistakes that they continue to make emotional, distracted decisions in the present. You must realize that the person who made those mistakes was operating without the tools of the calm mind. They were reacting, not observing. They were a servant to their emotions. To move forward, you must forgive that past version of yourself, but you must also vow to protect the future version of yourself. Clarity means learning the lesson without carrying the shame. If you made a bad investment, don't regret the money. Appreciate the tuition you paid to learn how to be a more analytical investor. Use the memory of the regret sting as a signal. Next time you feel that same emotional pull, let the ghost of that past regret whisper to you. Remember the 10th of October, 10 rule. Let's not do this again. The no regret filter. To live a life with minimal regret, you must build a no regret filter for your daily life. This filter consists of 3 final checks before any significant action. Is my mind calm? If the answer is no, the decision must wait. Am I seeking relief or a result? Relief is emotional. Results are strategic. Would I be proud to explain this decision to someone I respect tomorrow? If an action can pass these 3 checks, it is a powerful decision. It is a decision made with clarity. It is a decision that will never keep you awake at 3 a.m. Conclusion of Chapter 9. Regret is not a mandatory tax on human existence. It is the price of impulsivity. When you trade your clarity for a moment of emotional release, you are making a bankrupt trade. Calm thinking ensures that your decisions align with the person you want to become, not the person you are in a moment of weakness. By slowing down, using the 10th of October, 10 rule, and acting on principles rather than feelings, you effectively kill regret before it is even born. Remember, the pain of discipline weighs ounces, but the pain of regret weighs tons. Clarity now prevents pain later. Be calm. See the ripples. Choose the outcome you can live with forever. Chapter 10. Become untouchable through control. The definition of the untouchable. We have reached the summit of our journey. We have explored the mechanics of observation, the lies of the emotional brain, the strategic advantage of silence, and the architecture of a regret-free life. Now, we arrive at the ultimate destination, emotional sovereignty. To be untouchable does not mean that you are a hermit living in a cave, isolated from the world's problems. It does not mean you have a heart of stone or that you never feel the sting of loss or the heat of a challenge. Being untouchable means that while you are in the world, you are no longer of its chaos. It means that you have built a fortress around your inner state that is so robust, so disciplined, and so calm that nothing external can force you to act against your will. Most people are open fields. Anyone can walk in, start a fire, and leave them in ashes. You are becoming a fortress. The gates of this fortress are guarded by a single, unwavering law. I respond. I don't react. The end of social slavery. Most human suffering is social. We suffer because of what someone said about us, what someone thinks of us, or how someone treated us. We are, quite literally, slaves to the opinions of others. If a stranger smiles at us, we have a good day. If a stranger scowls at us, we have a bad day. This is the peak of powerlessness. You are allowing people who don't even know your middle name to dictate your heart rate and your happiness. The untouchable mind recognizes the social mirror for what it is, a distortion. When someone criticizes you, the reactive person tries to break the mirror. They argue, they defend, they shout. The calm person understands that the criticism is not a reflection of their reality, but a projection of the other person's internal world. If you are moved by praise, you will be destroyed by criticism. Both are external inputs trying to manipulate your internal output. To be untouchable, you must become indifferent to both. You seek neither the applause of the crowd nor the approval of the critic. You seek only the internal yes of your own conscience and the clarity of your own decisions. The mechanics of the response. In the first chapter, we talked about the gap between stimulus and response. In this final chapter, we must master the response itself. A reaction is a knee-jerk. A response is a strategic move. A reaction is, you insulted me, so I will insult you back. A response is, you insulted me. I see that you are trying to provoke a reaction. I choose to remain silent and continue with the agenda. The word response shares a root with responsibility. To respond is to take responsibility for the outcome. When you choose your response, you are the director of the scene. You are the one who decides where the energy goes. If someone cuts you off in traffic and you respond by breathing and letting them go, you have saved your energy for your family, your business, and your health. If you react by chasing them down, you have handed your energy to a stranger who doesn't care if you live or die. Control is the ability to choose where your life force is spent. The sovereign mind. Permission is required. One of the most profound realizations of a calm mind is this: nothing can disturb your peace without your permission. Events are neutral. Losing a job is just an event. A breakup is just an event. A market crash is just an event. These things only become bad or tragic when your mind labels them as such. The untouchable person refuses to grant permission for external events to become internal crises. They look at a setback and say, this is a change in the dataset. It is not a change in my character. It is a new problem to solve, not a reason to suffer. You are the only one who holds the key to your internal state. If you feel stressed, it is because you have given a situation permission to stress you. If you feel offended, it is because you have given a person permission to offend you. To become untouchable, you must revoke those permissions. You must become a gatekeeper of your own mind, the shield of objective reality. The world will try to pull you into narratives. The economy is collapsing, we're all going to be poor. The company is restructuring, you're going to lose your status. The world is getting more dangerous every day. The reactive mind buys into the narrative and begins to vibrate with anxiety. The calm, untouchable mind stays with the objective facts. The untouchable person asks, what is the fact? The fact is that interest rates went up by 1%. The narrative is that I will be homeless. I will ignore the narrative and focus on the 1% adjustment. By stripping away the story and staying with the fact, you remove the emotional hook. You become immune to the propaganda of the fearful. While everyone else is running in circles shouting that the sky is falling, you are the one looking at the ground, noticing that it is still firm and figuring out the most profitable way to walk on it. The daily maintenance of the fortress. Sovereignty is not a destination you reach and then forget. It is a discipline you practice every hour. To remain untouchable, you must have maintenance rituals. 1. The morning buffer. Do not check your phone for the first hour of the day. If you check your phone the moment you wake up, you are inviting 1,000 voices into your fortress before you have even put on your armor. You are starting your day in reaction mode. Use the first hour for silence, for your own thoughts, and for setting your own command for the day. 2. The evening purge. Before sleep, review the events of the day. Identify the moments where you lost your calm. Don't judge them, just debrief them like a pilot after a flight. At 3 p.m., I allowed a rude comment to spike my heart rate. I gave away my power for 10 minutes. I will not make that trade tomorrow. 3. The body-mind connection. You cannot have an untouchable mind in a neglected body. Physical health is the infrastructure of your fortress. When you are exhausted, hungry, or sedentary, your defensive walls are thin. You are more likely to react. Discipline in the gym translates directly to discipline in the boardroom. The ultimate freedom, self-mastery. There is a common mistake that people make. They think that freedom is the ability to do whatever you want, whenever you want. They think it's about having no bosses, no rules, and no constraints. But a person who does whatever they want is often just a slave to their impulses. They are a slave to their hunger, their lust, their laziness, and their mood. True freedom is not the absence of external control. It is the presence of internal control. The most free person in the world is the one who can remain calm in the face of an insult, stay disciplined in the face of a temptation, and remain objective in the face of a crisis. That person is untouchable because the world has no levers left to pull them. You cannot threaten them with loss because they are detached. You cannot manipulate them with praise because they know their own truth. You cannot panic them with chaos because they are the center of the storm. The final command. You have the tools. You have the map. You have the mantras. Chapter 1 taught you to observe. Chapter 2 taught you to doubt your feelings. Chapter 3 taught you to slow down. Chapter 4 taught you to detach. Chapter 5 taught you to use silence. Chapter 6 taught you to control your dialogue. Chapter 7 taught you to choose, not chase. Chapter 8 taught you to train before the pressure. Chapter 9 taught you to seek clarity. And Chapter 10 has taught you to be sovereign. The world is waiting to test you. Today, someone will be rude to you. Today, something will go wrong. Today, you will feel the pull of an old, reactive habit. In that moment, remember, you are the observer. You are the commander. You are the architect of your own peace. Breathe into the gap. Hold the silence. Wait for the chemicals to drain. Ask the 10th of October, 10 questions. And then, from a place of absolute, cold, lethal calmness, make your powerful decision. Conclusion. The calm mind wins. The loudest person in the room is the weakest. The most frantic person is the most vulnerable. The person who is constantly reacting is a ghost of a human being. But the person who is calm, the person who can sit in the silence and see the truth, that person is the master of their destiny. A calm mind doesn't just make better decisions, it creates a better life. It creates a life of presence, of power, and of profound freedom. Go out into the world and be the calmest person in every room you enter. Not because you are better than others, but because you have mastered the only thing that truly matters, yourself. A calm mind creates powerful decisions. Now, go and decide. The end.